I'll share with you a philosophy that has made me monumentally successful, gotten me through hard times. In fact, majority of my results has been ascribed to this philosophy. This one philosophy can get you through hard times, can keep you motivated, can make you stay off course, regardless of debilitating results, regardless of the failure. If you adopt this one philosophy, it would help you stay on track. Adopt this parallel view of life. I see life like a straight line. A, B, decision, consequence. I've said it incessantly. Decision has consequence. The consequence of your decisions have already been pre-programmed. If I walk to the president of the United States and I strike him, I would be jailed. He might be in a nice mood, but I'm not willing to find out. So that is the consequence of my decision. Why am I not in jail yet? Because I've not made the decision that activates that consequence. Majority of you spend your time drinking booze, going to parties, engaging in activities you are fully aware doesn't drive you towards the path of success, doesn't give you your coveted goal, yet you still persist in those activities. Yes, it's gratifying. Yes, it numbs you to the unlimited pressure directed your way on your path to success. And every single person who has walked the path, the arduous journey to becoming something worthy of admiration, can guarantee, or anybody who is successful would concede, that you get to a point in your life when you failed so much or you are under unlimited amount of stress. You need something to numb you. I got to a point in my life where I clearly understood why rich people are addicted to women, porn, or injecting themselves with all kinds of poison. That level of stress does exist, and if you've not gotten to that point, you still get there. But that impasse is something that exists. Don't be quick to judge people. Don't be quick to point fingers. In fact, some ladies solicited prostitution with me. When I got to hear her story, it was justifiable. When I got to hear that her parents, she lost both parents, eldest of 3 siblings, she had to find a way to take care of them. Unfortunately, here in Africa, there's really no much work, especially for unskilled labor. In fact, it's not just here, I believe all around the world, it's still the same thing. The pattern is consistent. Alright, I've heard you. How much is a night's work? X amount. Here's X amount. Take the day off. About to leave the place. Through the rear mirror, she pretended to flag down a bus, and as soon as I zoomed past, you know exactly what happened. But pointing fingers is not invariably the posture to adopt. Majority of people who do things like this are not deliberately or greedy, or is not as a result of choice or they wanted to do it. Majority of these individuals come from dysfunctional home. And again, I'm not trying to encourage negative activity. I'm not trying to endorse prostitution. I'm not trying to justify prostitution. But the reality of it is life is unfair. If you walk down, not even to the worst part of city, if you walk down the road with $1 million in cash, should you get robbed? No. But would you get robbed? Yes. So what I teach is what men do, not what men ought to do. They are two different things. What men do and what men ought to do, they diverge by very large amounts. And of the philosophy, decision has consequence, and the opposite is equally as probable. If there's something you're working on, giving up your life for an activity or putting in effort because you truly believe that this goal, this vision would come to fruition, then keep doing it. As the decision has consequence, the consequence of those your decision would materialize with time. And unfortunately, because of the school system and programming, they have subliminally instilled in you the idea, firstly, that consequence means bad. As I said, consequence, every single one of you associated that word with negativity. This is what is called subliminal programming. The programming that was instilled unconsciously. But consequence can mean good or bad. It's just an essential reaction to cause. So consequence is good in this case. If you are putting in effort, going to the gym, reading books, building a business, it hasn't come to materialization, but truly believe deep down in your heart and soul that this is meant for you. And the problem with good consequence, unlike its counterpart, is the effect. Most times are immediate. You strike the president, boom, jail. Conversely, you work on a business, it takes years to materialize. Fortunately, that's the world we find ourselves in. This ecosystem was built to encourage evil. This world thrives on negativity and evil. If you do not plant, guess what happens? Exactly. If you do not maintain and cultivate a seed, guess what happens? So it is the easiest thing to do in life is to fail. The easiest thing to do is to fall. You don't need much pressure to fall. You just let yourself go. As opposed to its counterparts, you need to be conscious in order to be upright. It takes a lot of effort, relatively, to be upright, as opposed to just let yourself go. So we've established that point. The first point is decision has consequence, and the consequence of every decision has been pre-programmed. The second point, it takes nothing to fail. This world is cohabitated on evil. This world is premised on evil. This world encourages negativity and its counterparts. Remember the fall analogy, the fail analogy. All of this are consistent with how the cosmos functions. So for anything good to happen, you have to make it happen. If you live life based on this African notion, whatever will happen will happen. You see this with ladies. Well, I'll just show up pretty and move. One day I will meet someone that will take care of me. I don't need to work on my character, go to the gym, look prettier than ever, learn the characteristics of a mother, shut up and make him a sandwich. I don't need to learn all of that. All I need to do is to just show up pretty, put on some makeup, and girl boss. Does it favor some? Perhaps, but an overwhelming majority, it never works out. And it's even worse in the case of male, because as a man, society doesn't care about you. You are born without values, and it's a good thing. Instead of bemoaning that fact, you can upgrade your character like a video game. You can decide to either be a clown, a comedian, a race car, a wrestler, an MMA fighter, any single thing you dedicate effort will materialize. So from today, the action I want every single one of you to take on this video is firstly, decide what you want to become. Secondly, decide the actions it will take to make this happen. This is where most of you get it wrong. You first decide the actions, then what you want to be. You let the task determine the objective as opposed to otherwise. You see this famously with humans. They watch a 5 minutes clip of me. They are inspired and motivated to take action. They read 30 pages daily. What a recommendation by some false guru. They open the book, they crack open the first page, the second page, and after 5 days of this monotonous effort, they give up. Of course you would. You have no idea of what your actions are laddering up to, although positive. Consciousness is a very important thing as touching your development. An amateur guy and a professional, they both work in the gym the first day. The next day, the professional or the amateur gets up, swollen, looks online, start taking painkillers, bemoaning the fact that he feels sore, cries his eyes out. Conversely, the professional gets up, sees his body swollen, excited as hell because this is the dividend of every single effort he puts in the gym. He understands that the muscle is currently swollen as a result of the intense pressure put on the bones, and those torn muscles will rebuild itself to become bigger. The same experience, yet the consciousness, the different perception brings about the result. And this is a whole podcast in and of itself. When you talk about perception, perception is a lengthy discourse. If you go into perception, you understand that the things that happen to us is not what causes pain, but the definition, the interpretation ascribed to those circumstances. A rich man dies, a poor man dies. On one hand, the children are not as distraughted as usual because there is inheritance waiting for them. They can give their father a befitting burial. Every single thing has been taken care of financially. Poor man dies and everybody's crying their eyes out. He was probably in debt. Their only source of income is gone. Every single thing is about to be fucked. He was the only pillar keeping the family together. So everybody's crying their eyes out, not necessarily as the result of the demise of the individual, but the consequence attached to his demise. They are two different things. One is mourning for the demise, the other, the consequence attached to the demise. For the sake of time, keep it here. And as always, my friends, it's a pleasure speaking to you. I'll see you in the next one.